Maybe if I sit here?
Yeah.
All right. Works out a little easier, I think. Oh, that probably should be on mute. You don't want that echo. All right, so we got a couple things today. Oh, I guess the page is not found. Nope, there it goes. So we're going to talk about the first project. I think everyone got a chance to get that one in. One person that emailed me, I got to chat with him after class and see what's going on.
I'll email you.
Okay.
So just be sure we upload the file to the repository link that you post.
Yep.
And then we post that link to the D2L.
So you're going to commit everything to the project repository, and each project will get a new repository, and then you'll give me the link to the feedback pull request.
I think that's right.
Okay. Oh. That's not us. That's D2L server error. Okay. I mean, we don't actually need D2L too much right now. Is it for you? Okay.
Is that 500 mean?
500 is the internal server error, so something on the server side went bad.
So 500 is internal?
Yeah. Internal server error. There's a whole list of...
What is external?
Oh, wait.
So there...
That exists.
Am I just
So usually they're like network errors, because they're errors on your side. It was not the server side.
Okay.
Because I got to this page.
So like anything in the 200s is usually okay. 300s, what is that one? There's like a funny way of saying it. Something. That's all right. Well, we'll take a look later. We'll see what's going on with it. So if you had trouble, we can figure it out after. If 400 is not found, usually anything in the 400s. Yeah, there's a bunch of HTML or HTTP status codes. Look at that. Yeah, 200 successful, 300 is look somewhere else, 400 is it's your problem, 500 is my problem. I can zoom that a little, sorry. All right, well, so without D2L, that's okay. We still know what the project was, right? We were doing pies, right?
Yeah.
A pie calculator? Yes. I'm so excited for pie season. So excited. And then maybe D2L will come back eventually, because that would be helpful. To get to post the next project. Has that been down for long? All right. We'll let NetBeans load up here. Yeah, I mean, you just use the latest version or whatever. It's all good.
Is there a fast way to get it to update to the new one?
No, it's really bad at updating. Yeah. Like there's an update button, but it doesn't actually give you new versions. It'll do updates to the existing version, but then every next version is released as separate. Oh, and I did hear they did a nice little demo with our manager of environmental health and safety. If you folks are sitting more than 3 feet apart, there's no contact tracing requirements, because that's the rule. So other than that, it's supposed to keep a seating chart. So I don't know how to measure 3 feet very easily, but that's their rule. And they said if I don't know who's sitting next to each other, then we all have to quarantine if someone gets corona. So thankfully we've got, hopefully this flex option works and we're not packed in here. And this is a slightly larger classroom than any of the ones in F. I also did that on purpose. So I think we'll be in good shape. And I'm not within 3 feet of any, for 15 minutes or more, within 3 feet is the standard we're going off of. All right. I said everything runs faster, and yes, this is slightly faster than it used to be for NetBeans. It's just sad. I'll close that down. I'm really excited. Microsoft just released their new line of Surface laptops and stuff, and I really want to get another one. I like their stuff, but okay. So let's do a new project here. This is Java with Ant. It didn't have my plugins? Oh, goodness. It's going to be one of those days, friends.
That's okay.
Yeah. Oh, maybe this Java C, NB Java C thing will work. I just activate. It should already be downloaded.
So the tutor's tomorrow, right?
Yes, Tuesday and Thursday, 1 to 2. I put it in the calendar in D2L, which I can't show you now, but it'll show up as a calendar reminder in D2L if anyone uses the D2L calendar.
So each time we go, we got 1 point for that week.
Each week, yeah. Yep. Yeah, I'll throw an extra point for the quizzes. Mr. Tim gives me a report the end of every week of who's come, and I save them all, and at the end of the semester I put them all together and figure out how many bonus points you should get. Because adding it every week is annoying. All right, we're getting there. We're turning on our modules. All right, so I'm going to put it in our 1500 course folder. This is for Project 1. And this is, I'm going to say this is the morning group because I already did Project 1 for the Tuesday evening class. They made pizzas instead of pies because I really wanted pizza that night. For you folks, I really wanted pie. Project 2's will be significantly different, though. Finish. There we go. Missed the button. All right. Thinking about it. Maybe D2L will load eventually. There's a class list. So we're going to ask for their name, and then username, and all the other ones. Right? So to get some user input, we need our scanner. And I like calling keyboard the book because SC doesn't really matter as long as you know what you're using. Here, so ask them. What's your name? Maybe. And then we need a place to store their name. So we have a variable for their name, and we can assign it whenever we get back from next line. So again, whatever they typed in, we're just going to use. We're good to go. And then when we ask them for more information, we can start with name, right? And we're going to concatenate, do that string. It's not really plus, the strings just stick to each other. Name, and then we'll ask them how many people are coming to the party. To the party. There it goes. And then for these, we need integers so we can do arithmetic. Right? For how many people are coming to the party, we'll have an int for number of guests. It will be an integer.parseInt, right, to do that conversion of whatever we get back from the next line. Oh, it didn't add the import yet. It says, I don't know what a scanner is, cannot find symbol. So we want to click the little light bulb and add our import. Adds this line, or you're welcome to type it by hand. So the imports go above the class definitions. Everything else goes inside of main here. That should make those ones go away. Those red lines. There we go. Right. Oh, I can't type keyboard. There we go. There. Okay. Now it knows what those ones are. So we know how many guests are coming to the party, and then we'll ask them again how much pie each person will eat. So how many slices of pie will the average guest eat? And for this one, it's possible to tell us like 2.5 slices of pie. So it might make sense to make this one a double. Now, if you didn't, that's okay, but this will also make our arithmetic work better later, because if you divide an integer by an integer, we get integer division, and you lose any decimal remainder. So when we try and say, oh, I need to buy 3.5 pies, and then I need to round that up, integer division would just give me 3. So making one of these a double actually works out nicely for that later. So it's average slices of pie per guest. Sure. And then instead of integer.parseInt, it's double.parseDouble. Still of that keyboard next line. Sorry, it's getting a little long there, but I think it's just mostly my font. Okay, so if I know how many guests and how many slices, then we can figure out how many slices of pie we need here. So we'll have, and again, you didn't need to save this as a variable. I'm just going to put it out here just to make my life a little easier here. It says total number of slices of pie needed. Sure. And that's my number of slices per guest times the number of guests. So we've got a nice variable name for it here. Then we're going to ask them what kind of pie they were going to make. Right? Again, this was kind of optional. We can do this arithmetic later, but this way I at least have a nice name for it here. So we'll ask them what kind of pie are you getting? And then you should probably, if like this is some sort of choice, we should ask them like, or tell them, hey, apple, blueberry, or pumpkin. Or no, we didn't do pumpkin. We did apple, blueberry, and was it pumpkin?
Yeah.
Oh, it was pumpkin. Okay, it was. Apple, blueberry, or pumpkin. Just give them some sort of prompt like, hey, it's probably one of these things here. And then we're going to store the result. Yeah.
You misspelled pie.
Kind of pie. What kind of pie are you getting? Okay, thank you. So this is, I don't know, kind of pie. Will be the keyboard.next line. So whatever they type in, we're good to go. Now we can check. And when we're comparing strings, right, we don't use the equal signs here. So that doesn't work for us. So we want to say the kind of pie equals, and probably ignoring case every time, because who knows what the users type in, right? So if it equals apple, then we can do something. If it's not apple, else if it equals something else. Let's check. So if it's not apple, is it blueberry? And then if it's not apple, it's not blueberry, else if we can check, hey, is it pumpkin? Oh, need another parenthesis here. Start a parenthesis and a parenthesis. And then if you wanted to, again, it was optional. We can put an else in here and say, I don't know that kind of pie, or, you know, pick a different kind. Okay. That's not apple, blueberry, or pumpkin. And again, some sort of validation loop would be really cool, but we hadn't gotten to that when we started the project, so it wasn't anything we had to do for the project. But when we talked about loops last week, right, we could put this all in a loop and say, okay, if it's not apple, it's not blueberry, and it's not pumpkin, keep them in the loop and don't let them get out. In our case, it's just a, you know, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this. Good, too bad, right? Game over. Just run it again next time. So like we can just leave a note like a loop would be nice here. Nice here, but not required. Okay. So then, if it was apple, what are we doing here? Apple had so many slices, right? So was apple 8? I think.
Apple was 8.
Okay, I think so. Is D2L back? Oh, it loaded. Sort of. Something went wrong. Refresh. Try again. Updates. 404 not found. Yep. Okay. It's not cooperating. So, sure. So if apple was 8 slices, then we would know how many pies we needed. So we'd have a double here for number of pies needed is going to be the number of slices needed. Oops, not as a double. Why did it give me that whole line? Yeah, okay. I think I clicked something funny. We'll take our total number of slices of pie needed divided by 8. That'll be my number of pies needed. So this will give me, because this one is a double divided by an integer, and I'll get the decimal places. Now, I'm not doing the rounding portion yet, though. Right, so we need to round. So all of this then here gets to be rounded with math.ceil. C-E-I-L, right? Math.ceil will round up to the nearest whole number. If it's already at an integer value, perfect. It stays right there. Yeah.
What is math.round?
So round will actually round, where if it's 0.5 and higher, it rounds up. If it's not 0.5, it's less than 0.5, it rounds down.
So math.ceil, if it was like 0.2, go up to 1?
Yes, so ceil will always go to the next whole number.
Okay.
Where rounding does actual rounding, but that means you're not going to have enough pie.
Right.
If it said, hey, you need 3.4 pies, and you round down, your party's going to suck.
Yeah, I was using round for a little bit, and I kept getting too less pies.
Yep. Yeah, so rounding does a mathematical rounding, but in our case, you always need to round up to make sure you have enough pie. Leftover pie is good, running out of pie is bad. Right? Okay, so we'll have that, and then we can print out, right, you need to buy to make number of pies. So we'll concatenate that in there. And we can even tell them kind of pie, right? Plus kind of pie, plus pies. Sure. Make or buy, right? So by whatever that number is and whatever that kind is, we'll spit out the nice little message here. Now what's cool is this just gets to be copy pasted in each of these other ones, and the only thing that changes here is this number of slices. So I think we said blueberry, was that 10 slices for blueberry?
Yeah, blueberry.
And then pumpkin I think was 6.
Yeah.
So the only thing that changes here is the number we're dividing by. The message is still the same, the arithmetic is still the same for all that rounding, and because we're using this variable, number of pies, because that matches in every one of these, and we have a kind of pie, the message can be the same, it's just going to plug in whatever value we calculate. Alright, so let's try it. Maybe. Alright, we'll say Eric. How many people are coming to the party? If we have 7 people come to the party, and the average guest eats 3.5 slices of pie, it just should give us a nice funny number. Right, so 7 times 3.5 should get 21, 24 and a half slices of pie that we need. Right, so apple, at 8 slices each, 8, 16, 24, we should need 4 pies, right? If we calculated it right. So 4.0 apple pies. Oh, we're missing a space here, so we can make that a little prettier. Let's see, so... do I have a space there? I have a space there. That's confusing. There should be a space. Huh. Alright, let's try it again. Let's try blueberry. Eric, 7 people, 3.5 slices each. If we make blueberry at 10 slices each, 10, 20, we should need 3 pies. 3 blueberry pies. Cool. And then we'll try pumpkin. Eric, 7, 3.5, pumpkin, 5 pumpkin pies. Right, that's 6 slices each, so 6, 12, 18, 24. Need that 5th pie. Right, just for that half a slice. I don't know why the spacing's off, though. That's really weird. That seems super confusing. Oh, it's between my number of pies and the kind of pie. That's where the space is, not the word pies. It's my kind of pie. So I need to add in a space here. Right, between the number and the kind of pie. That's what I was doing wrong. 1 extra space there. Okay? Now if we run it, it should look pretty. Eric, 7, 3.5. Apple pie is the best kind of pie. Great. Got lots of apple pie. That seem okay? Still nothing here. So everyone's going to check against the rubric, make sure we did it all right. Maybe we should change this U to like your name, right? We could do that too. Name plus. Right, just make that a little bit nicer looking. Okay. I feel all right? Cool. Now, the other thing you can do if you feel bad about having the same print line every time, we could make one more variable. Right? If we declare this number of pies needed outside here, we could then just set that number of pies needed inside each of these ifs and have a single print after the fact. It doesn't work well with our else, though, because we don't really have a validation loop. So this is probably easiest. But I think I saw one person, they would calculate everything just inside, and then afterwards they'd have a single print, which is nice. But again, with our else here, it's going to work out a little bit funny. So, right, and then I would go to GitHub, make sure I commit my changes here. Let's see if D2L is still... Oh, if I refresh the error page, of course it's going to error. See if we can get anything back again. Let's see. Hey, okay, no errors that time. Maybe it's back. Waiting on GitHub now. So for 1500, you should see a bunch of new stuff. Yep, I see all the project stuff. Great, I can take a look at my Java file. Looks like it has everything. Cool. So this is project 1, morning done. And we'll commit and push. So I forget if I said it when the stream was on. I talked with our IT manager here on campus on the way in. He said virtual desktops do not save your files or sessions like they used to. So if you had used the VDI previously, it would have done that. But this semester, when everyone's back on campus, they had to change that. They couldn't keep enough active sessions up at a time without messing up the system. So download GitHub, commit and push every time. It adds like an extra 2 minutes to the workflow. So it's not great, but it's not the worst thing in the world. Or if you like, you can plug it in a flash drive, and it should connect through for you through the VDI to like flash drives. But and GitHub's made for code. It's a good habit to get into, and we should be in pretty good shape there. All right, so let's find, we had chapter 4 from the morning that we were working on previously, and we got through doing a couple shapes, right? Did some loops, did some validation loops, we did some nested statements, and I did remember to put them back down at the bottom here with all of our for loops here. Okay, we got relatively far on this. Let me see how much else we have in here. Making sure I'm covering everything. So we did switches. Right? Again, if you like switches, great, go for it. But I'm going to mainly stick to if, else, else ifs, because you can always do it with an if, else, else if. You can't always use a switch, just depending on what you're doing here. It's particularly around ranges. Like for matching a particular word, perfect. Nice and easy. But if you wanted to do some sort of range, like, hey, is it less than and something else? You can't have multiple conditions there. You can't say, hey, is the number between 1 and 10? That's like less than 4, you just can't do. So they're a little bit more limited in what they do. All right, we did loops inside of loops. And that's what we're working on with our printing, our different shapes here, a loop inside of a loop. Right, so a for loop inside of a for loop. For loops were great if we know how many times the loop is going to run. Right, a while loop is more flexible than that. Great validation loops. If we just want to keep entering until we enter that sentinel value, like, hey, here's the score, here's a score, here's a score, here's -1 because it's not a valid score, please stop the loop. It saves us from saying, here's a score, yes, I have more. Here's a score, yes, I have more. Here's a score, yes, I have more. I think we did both of those previously. I can't remember back till Wednesday. Nobody's sure? I think we changed one of these, right? Where we did scores over and over. Yeah. Enter a score here. Oh, this is to make sure it's a valid score. Didn't we do that? We changed it. We're adding them up. Does that not ring a bell? I thought we did one of those. Enter score. Okay, maybe we didn't do one. We can do one. So let me start the project. I'll put new code at the top and I'll move it down to the bottom later because otherwise it's gonna we have to run through everything else. So with a sentinel value, right, that is an intentional invalid value that signals to stop the loop. So we could say enter a score, and then we'll have an int for, here's another score example. Integer.parseInt of the keyboard.next line. And then we're going to have another value here. So we can do this, actually we can do it outside of here. So we'll have a string for, again, or more scores. We'll start off as a y here. We'll say while more scores equals, ignore case, a y. Let's keep on asking him for scores. And we can have a int for total scores, starts off at 0. We'll ask for a score, and we'll take total scores plus equals the another score. And then we'll have, like, we can do the min and max, right? Do we do a min and max check? So the minimum score, or lowest score, maybe, score. Now, when we want to find the lowest score, we got two options. One, we can say, hey, the first score starts as the lowest, and then every other one we need to compare. it's a little bit tricky and adds a little bit more code inside of our if or our loop here. So the easier way is usually to start at the biggest possible number we can get. And then everything, the first score was going to be lower than that. So you can start at integer.max, max value, which is the 2 billion, whatever, 100 and something million. And then for the highest score, again, it's the same idea, integer at the min value. So the highest thing will start at the bottom, and the lowest thing will start at the top, so that when we compare our first score, it should fit. So then we can say, hey, if another score example is greater than the highest score, right? When you give a bunch of numbers and you need to find the highest number, you're keeping track of what the current highest is, right? And every new number, you're going to say, are you higher than my highest? If you're not, we don't care. If you are, then you're now the new highest score. So if we entered a score that's higher than the current highest, the highest score will be set to that value. Same idea with our lowest score. If you are lower than the lowest score, then you're the new lowest score. Right? So as we get new values, we're going to say, hey, are you higher than the highest? Are you lower than the lowest? We'll add you to the total, and then we need a count of scores, right? So we have an int number of scores. Starts off at 0, and every time we ask for a score, we can up that by 1, plus plus. Actually, let's do that in here. Yeah, plus plus, or this combined assignment operator, plus equals 1. Yep, same thing. So plus plus is the slightly faster way. It's 1 character less. But we use this a lot in our for loops, so we'll get familiar with that kind of notation. But no, this one's perfectly fine too. Same as above. All right, so we'll add it to the total. We'll figure out the highest. We'll figure out the lowest. But then we need to ask them, because this loop will only go as long as more scores is yes. Do you want to enter another score? You have more scores to enter. And like y/n, kind of a little hint here. And then more scores can equal keyboard.next line. So the loop then has to ask for a score and then say, do you have more or not? Ask for a score, do you have more or not? Ask for a score, do you have more or not? So a slightly easier way of doing that then is we can say, let's do this as long as another score example does not equal -1. Because -1 is probably not an actual score that someone's going to get. So I can use a value that is intentionally out of range. So the only thing I have to do with that then is I need to declare that score up above. And we're going to start it at something that is not that, because I want the loop to run. Then I can say, hey, enter a score, or -1 to be all done. I can go set the value, and then I don't need to worry about any of this. Do you have more to enter or not? Now, the downside, though, is that if they enter -1, I need to not count it. So all of this is if another score example does not equal -1. Then I do all of this stuff inside. So if it's not a -1, do all my things. Because if it is a -1, that shouldn't count as the lowest score or possible highest score or anything. Does that make sense? So we can use this value here to avoid another prompt. So this is called like a sentinel value. Ooh, I am Wolf asked for a dad joke. You got it. You got it. You know, I used up a lot of my good ones. I had trouble Thursday night. I had to reinstall something. They kept telling dad jokes while we were waiting for the install to happen. I think I lost like half the class because it was like 15 dad jokes in a row. It was kind of bad. I mean, at some point it might be a little much, but it was fun because sometimes they would laugh and sometimes they would groan, and I don't know which was actually meant the joke was better. It's like dad jokes are supposed to be bad and make you groan rather than actually be funny, right? My son recently got a job as a waiter. It's not great, but it puts food on the table. Never get enough. All right, Wolf. I'm glad that you can't get enough. Let's see. So I spelled keyboard wrong there. All right. So looking at doing loops here again, these are great. So like if you're looping through and asking for names or something, right? I don't know, if you wanted a list of friends, some sort of thing, kind of pies, like you could make all the kinds of pies, and then when you're done, say enter stop. So it's as long as the type of pie is not stop, we can keep on looping, and I can make all the pies, right? Tell me how many apple pies, tell me how many blueberry pies, tell me how many pumpkin pies I should make, and then eventually you tell me to stop, right? So we can use these, they're nice in that it just saves you a prompt, right? And then generally that makes the code a little bit easier. Maybe this is not too bad to have, and you don't like having all of this inside an if. That's fine. Not too big of a deal. All right, inside of loops, there are two keywords that do some special things. So we saw when we did a switch, it uses this funny break keyword. This will actually work inside of loops as well. What break does, it means stop the loop, go to the end, game over. So if you run the break command, your loop will stop wherever it is at that line, jump right down to the ending curly brace, and continue on. That's essentially what it does with the switch too. It says stop the switch, go to the ending curly brace, and go on from here. Break does the same thing inside of loops. So if you wanted, we could use a break then to avoid this level of indentation. So we could say, instead of this, we could say, if another score example equals -1, break. Break. That was an immediate end of the loop. So if we have this, then we don't need to put all of this inside of an if, right? Because if we break, we're done, we bail out, which saves you one level of tabbing, which is generally nice, right? So we can do that instead. Oh, I'm doing this keyboard shortcut all the time without realizing it, or without saying it. If you go to source, there's this button for format, Alt-Shift-F. It automatically fixes all your tabbing for you. So it will format things so that if there's a curly brace, it's tabbed in one tab inside of that curly brace. That's our convention to show that you belong. So if something's tabbed in, it belongs to that block above it that starts somewhere above it here. And you can kind of see there's these faint white lines in the IDE to indicate here's the tab side here. So break is cool. There's another keyword that you can use, which is called continue. So continue, instead of ending the loop, says just go back up to the top and reevaluate. Do I need to run again? You can continue. So we could write a loop here. So if we wanted to say while, we'll do a for loop. So for number is 1, number is less than, let's just do like 20, number plus plus. If we just print out number, we're going to get the numbers 1 through 19, right? We're not going to get 20, but we'll get 1 through 19, because as soon as it's 20, the loop will stop. But if we only wanted, say, odd numbers, right, we could check. We could say, hey, if number modulus 2 is 0, remember we did this for even and odd when we were doing our shapes. If we can evenly divide out 2 and there's no remainder, continue. Now this is a little bit silly because like we could just do the opposite and print if it's odd, but it's just demonstrating a continue. So continue means jump back up to the loop header. So in this case, we'll jump back up, we'll do our update, and then we'll do our test. In a while loop, it just jumps back up to the test. Remember, this update is technically part of the header, so we jump back up to the header, we'll update, and then test. So this will skip all of the evens, essentially. Anything that's even, we're just going to continue. We'll never get to this line. If this is not true, we continue on. That's the wrong word to use because we just put continue here. If it's not true, this doesn't run. The next line of code will run. The loop goes to the bottom, runs the loop update, runs the loop test, and checks to see if we should keep on going. So continues and breaks are relatively powerful, but sometimes they're confusing because it interrupts the regular flow of code. And we're used to, hey, here's the line, here's the next line, here's the next line, here's the next line. The only time you go back up is when you hit the bottom of a loop rather than the middle somewhere. So generally they're frowned upon, just as a, they're harder to read. So perfectly legal Java code, perfectly fine to use them, but it just can make it a little bit harder for other people to read your code. So generally we try and avoid them if possible. But they are powerful, and there's great uses for them. So not that they're bad, but like if you can avoid using it, maybe it's better. Like this, sure, Or we just have another if here instead, right? Not too big of a deal. All right, so that's looping there. I want to show you one more loop here. So let's do, let's come up here. String name, we'll say, oh, we should ask them for their name first, right? Enter your name. Keyboard.next line. Now, if I'm going to loop through every character in your name here, we could do that. We'll get more into this kind of loop later here, but it works really well. We can say for each, oh, sorry. For each, nope, sorry, just for each letter in your name is an individual character, right? So we're going to say for each char letter, colon name. Can you print out the letter? They can let me do that? It's not going to let me do that. Oh goodness, I'm sorry. Nope, can't do string either, can I? That's all right. So name dot to char array. If I take your name to a character array, again, we haven't talked about them, we'll get to them later here, but this will let me get one character out at a time. I'm going to call it letter inside my loop here. So it takes what is a string value, breaks it up into individual character values. Right, so we'll get one character at a time, and we're just going to print them out right now for fun. Actually, here, let's do this. Let's check. We can say, hey, if character dot is uppercase. So the character class here, like we had integer.parseInt, we had double.parseDouble. You have character as the character class, has some really cool checks. You can say, like, is digit, is alphabetic, is letter, is uppercase, is lowercase. I don't actually know what mirrored means. Is it a space? Sure, you got lots of cool options here. So we're going to check if it's uppercase, then let's print out the letter. Just for a fun little check here. So whatever name they type in, if they give us an uppercase letter, we should print it out. Take a look. Maybe it'll run. Oh, I have an invalid keyboard somewhere in here. Where'd it go? Right here. Don't know how to type. Keyboard. Definitely needs some more coffee. All right. So Eric, we get out just the E because it's capital. Right, if I type my name in all uppercase, we should get out all the letters. We get all the letters. Right? If I do none of them in capital, right, we should get none of the letters because none of them are uppercase. Right? Okay. So again, checking one character at a time. Cool, we can do that. All right, let's see. Is D2L back on? See if we can load up a new project here. Maybe. There's a chance it'll work. If not, that would be unfortunate. Trying to sign in on the other laptop too, see if I have any better luck. Probably doesn't work like that with websites, does it? Oh, it's loading. It's just going slow. It's a good sign. We'll start Project 2 today. We'll have 2 weeks to do it. So that puts us out into mid-October. Wow. There we go. It's loading. It's loading. It is alive. Going real slow. So you can kind of see at the bottom here, there's this little tiny message waiting for something or other. And it had something out in AWS there, it looked like. Yep. Oh, that wasn't it. Showed it briefly. Yeah, I'll commit our code here. So this is more chapter 4. Commit and push. All right. Come on. We're getting there. Need like the Jeopardy soundtrack. Although I think that would make Twitch mad at me. I think that's copyrighted music, isn't it?
I would say they got better on that by making the deal, but then after the fact, you still have to do the leap of odd.
The deal is you won't get banned automatically. That was the whole bit of the deal, right? They're like, hey, we have an agreement to not ban you right away. You still get all the punishments, but at least that's nice you don't get banned like after 3 strikes. Some of that's hard. I don't know. I know like some streamers would be, hey, if you want to tip $5, you can pick the song that plays. So, like technically you're playing to hear the music, but like that's more of a interaction with them anyway. I don't know. I'm torn on the whole thing, but I don't write music either, so I have nothing to do with that. For the people who write, actually, it's not even like the people who write the music; it's all the publishers, right? Or the labels that they sign with. Those couple evil companies. They're the bad ones, right? D2L, Elastic, Rum, ATM, US East. Ugh. The folks at D2L are having a rough day. It is no fun to be trying to manage a site that's down. This is like the second time I've seen it happen in several years, so they're generally really stable.
Just like the amount of people on it.
Either something they pushed a bad update to it and now their software is screwed up, or possibly something behind the scenes on AWS's side, Amazon's side, failed, and then they're scrambling to bring things back. Getting internal server errors on the other laptop. All right, I'm going to type it out in Notepad, and I will share it in the Discord, and I'll post it in D2L eventually. Will that be okay? All right, so for Project 2, the third morning class, we're going to build a little hangman game. A couple things to it, though, right? It's not a very interesting game because it's going to ask you what word or phrase you want to guess. So the first thing we're going to do is ask the user for the word, phrase to guess. So like if 2 people were at the same computer, someone could type something in, the next person could sit down. That old style hot swap multiplayer, hot seat multiplayer. Picking a random word to guess is doable, but this is fine. So ask them for the word or phrase to guess, and then we're also going to ask them for the number of allowed guesses. So if they want to say, hey, you only get 3 guesses, or 3 failed, right, number of allowed incorrect guesses, that's probably a better way to say it. So if you only get 3 incorrect guesses until you lose, sure, you only get 3. If you want to have 27, you're obviously going to guess all the letters in the alphabet. But sure, right? So they get to pick this. So we're not going to necessarily have to draw the hanging man at every different stage, because you could just lose after 3 versus the regular head, body, legs, arms, whatever. How many did that work out to be? The head, the body, 1 leg, other leg, 1 arm, 1 arm. So usually 6, and then they could give you like a smiley face or something if they're feeling bad.
Yeah.
I forget. So we'll just ask them how many. Okay. And then we're going to loop until they either lose or guess the word correctly. I'm sorry, or reveal the entire word. So doing this 2-character array and going things letter by letter by letter is going to be an important piece here. If you know what the word or phrase is, right, we can go through letter by letter by letter and start doing our checks. Okay. Right? And as you guess letters, we can put them in somewhere else. We'll need to store the letters that they've guessed somewhere, right, to compare. Hey, if you've guessed the letter, great, we can tell you what the letter is. If you haven't guessed the letter, you should probably show you that the blank or an underscore. Right, so that's the shift dash is an underscore. That's the regular dash. The shift dash is the underscore. So like I could print out a bunch of underscores for the word, or just make them all touch, right? That you can't tell the difference in Notepad. Usually you can tell the difference when you spit out a bunch of underscores. If you don't put spaces in between, cool. That'll look even better. See if we can't get this to load here. Nothing. Let me try refreshing. So this is going to practice with loops. Practice using some of those characters. We have to be counting. There are incorrect guesses here. Now, just a word of, I'm not dumb. I know if you Google Java Hangman, there are solutions out there. They all are going to use arrays and not do it this particular way. So please, just don't go and copy paste someone else's code. Okay? We've done enough here with Chapter 4 to be able to write it ourselves. Right? And if you're getting stuck, come talk to me, talk to Mr. Tim, book a tutoring session. Just finding someone's solution online is not going to be super helpful. Right? Yeah.
So we're only going to go up to chapter 4.
Yep.
Or
Yeah, nothing from Chapter 5. So all we need is the loops. And we can do our Hangman game with these loops that we've done so far. I can't post anything right now. So we're going to get points for letting them pick. Oh, is it loading? Some of it's loading. For picking the word or phrase, points for having them, with whether or not they can have correct, how many incorrect guesses they can have, points for, as we're playing, right, we're going to show them the correct number of spaces. So each round, display the word, phrase, guess with underscore or the letter if it has been guessed. Right? And we need to make sure we don't allow them to guess the same letter twice. We're going to be nice, like if they guess A and they guess A again, they don't get another strike against them. Right? So we need to be checking for that as we're, okay, enter the letter you want to guess. We need to do some sort of checks here. Right? Make sure it hasn't been guessed already. And we'll display all the letters already guessed. We can tell them here's the letters you've already guessed. Right, here's the word. Right, guess again. I think that's it when it comes to Hangman then, right? Oh, and then all of this inside a loop asking if they want to play again. So don't make it end and then have to hit run again. Say, hey, do you want to play again? And they can enter yes or no. No, yes, no should shut the program down. Yes should just go back up the top and say, okay, well, what word or phrase do you want to guess? How many guesses do you get? How many wrong guesses do you get here? Okay? So we'll do some, include a validation loop to ensure it's between 1 and 26. Right, so if they do enter 27, let's tell them no, that's stupid. There's only 26 letters. Okay? If they enter less than 1, tell them that's stupid. No one can win. So 1 incorrect guess is allowed. I guess technically you could have 0 if you wanted. If you guess wrong at all, you lose. That's not a very interesting game. So we're going to stick to 1. At least 1 guess that is allowed to be wrong here for our rules. Okay? Yeah, I think that ought to do it. Hey, it loaded. All right, so in 2 weeks, that puts us at October 11th, 10 a.m. This is project 2. I think this one worked out to be, I have to look and see how many points again here. I think it was about 11 points worth. Or link to existing. Oh goodness, it's not actually working very well, is it? Yeah, it's still okay. It's still a little funny. I'll work on getting it posted officially. I'll put this over in the Discord. And that's what we got for the rest of today. Yep. Along with this string.toChar array with a little loop through characters. Yep. No. So the stuff you'll find online uses arrays. The only array we need to use is turning a string to an array. We don't need to do anything additional with it. So we just need to deal with strings, but we can compare them one letter at a time with this. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, you're going to go down a funny rabbit hole if you start Googling, and then you won't know what the code does. And when you turn it in, I'll say, what does this code do? You'll say, oh, it's magic, because I found it online. So let's not go down that route. Okay? So just if you find something online for like one particular piece, I'm okay if you want to cite a source there, like, hey, this is how I spit out a bunch of underscores. Okay, I can work with you on that. But like, hey, I found a solution. I'm going to cite my source. You can't turn in someone else's paper and cite the whole thing, right? Like the same rules for English papers apply. You can take pieces. I'm good with pieces. We can't just, hey, here's one that's already done. I cited my source. Life is good, right? Okay. Rules as English paper apply. These pieces. Take entire paper and cite it. All right, so I'll post that over in the Discord. Let's see, where's our last one here? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you can do individual appointments, depending on if that works for you. I don't know if that might work either. Let me pull up. It's the Academic Support Center. That's not a PDF. I want their website. No, I don't want course descriptions. Why is this search so terrible? All right, forget it. There's a link. I can't get to the I have the syllabus downloaded. I can get to it from here. Let's see. Let's take a look here. I've got the link to the Academic Support Center page here, and they should have their individual tutoring schedule posted. So if you can't make the group tutor sessions, but you can make one of these individual ones, I'm happy to give you the extra quiz point for that too. Where'd it go? Here it is. libguides.oaklandcc.edu/academic support center. Sure, why not? That's where I would go to look. Oh wow, they like keep redoing this page. Looks like Rika and Tim. I thought we had someone else, but they're not listed. So Rika can tutor for 1500 Wednesdays and Thursdays. Tim also does Mondays up through 6 p.m. So I don't know if they'll work any better with the schedule. But yeah, if you want to make an individual appointment instead of the group sessions, because you can't do Tuesday, Thursday, 1 to 2, I'm open to that as well. All right, awesome. I'll stop the stream. If you folks online have any other questions, find me on Discord, call, text, email. I can go from there. Thanks for hanging out, Wolf.